Peace and blessings, everyone, and welcome aboard to the Full Court Press with uh, me, Coach Ed Gladney, Nick from Sleeper Sports Media, and my brother, Next Shift Randy. We are the trio bringing you the talk of the WNBA, and there's a lot going on in the WNBA. So, I thank everyone for being here. We did it last week, to get it going. This is the second episode, and we're really excited to, sit here and talk about what's going on in the WNBA. So, appreciate everyone again for being here. Mitch, I see you there in the chat. Everyone, also make sure you like today's episode. Always subscribe and hit the notification button so this way you'll know when we post new content, and share on all your social media platforms. Listen, it's free. It really helps us, and it's a great way to grow this venue as we get to talk about the WNBA. So, fellas, before I get into doing all that, we get to doing all that. Let me see how you guys are doing. What's up, Nick? How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. I'm ready to get back into the swing of things with the WNBA. Haven't been able to watch as many games. I've been trying to follow along and stay updated. I see Twitter popping off with different stuff. I've seen reports dropped by the WNBA that the numbers for every category you can think of are up this year. Big to do with the draft class, and just excited to start to follow along more and more. This is my first season watching and following the WNBA, so I'm just excited for that.
Okay, that's cool. All right, and my brother Randy, what about you, man? How you doing today?
Yeah, we're doing good on this side. Just like Mr. Sleeper Media, Mr. Nick there. Myself, I'm new to the WNBA this year. Trying to catch a game every now and again to kind of engulf myself in the experience so I can give you guys exactly what you guys need. And that's the desire from the WNBA side. I don't have a team yet. I'm kind of waiting to see what happens, obviously, with Toronto now being the expansion team in 2026. But right now, I've decided I'm going to cheer for the Minnesota Lynx. And I'm a huge fan of them right now. I'm trying to engulf myself into their roster and their players and try to get the proper pronunciation of their names, because that's always a difficult one. But I'm coming along.
No, I feel you. I understand, man, and that's cool. You guys being newly indoctrinated to the W. I mean, myself, I've been there since day one, since '97. Man, I remember the initial jump with Rebecca Lobo and Lisa Leslie. I'm a Liberty fan. For those who don't know, I Seafoam till I die. So I love the Liberty, but I also love the W, man. There's a lot of players in the league that I truly love. Their games, their personalities, everything about the W, man. Just like there's people who are passionate about the NBA, I'm passionate about the W. So, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into the first topic, which is the WNBA power rankings. So there's several different ones that you can find out there. One of the ones that, we were talking about is from the WNBA, and they actually broke it down in terms of conferences. So we're going to start in the Eastern Conference for the power rankings. So coming in, and I'm going to start from the bottom and work our way up. So starting at the bottom is the Washington Mystics. Now, right now they just got their first win, so they're 1-12. Previously in this ranking, they were always 6. They last week it says they lost to the Sun, the Sky, the Fever, and the Liberty. So, but again, like I said, they just beat the Atlanta Dream on Tuesday, and then they have the Sky again on Friday. Now, in terms of their team stats, their offensive ranking is it says 92.2. That's dead last in the whole league. Their defensive rating is 103.3, which is 11. Their net rating is minus 111.1, which is 11. and efficiency field goal is 47.3, which is actually 7. So that does talk to you, tell you that they can be very efficient. It's just look, they haven't won the games. That's really what it boils down to. So, and they have a lot going on there. Players going in and out. One of the players that I I love watching her game. Right now is the rookie Aaliyah Edwards from Connecticut. I mean, she's definitely one that I have been watching. She doesn't have the fanfare and the name as the other, rookies in the league, but she's someone that as she continues to develop her game, she's going to be a player to reckon with. So, what's your guys' thoughts on in terms of Washington in the East being at number 6? Do you think it's right, or do you think it's something that they should be higher? Randy, I'm gonna start with you.
First, I want to start off. Thanks for the shout out from my girl Leah Edwards, a Canadian girl. I love it. So shout out to Mrs. Leah Edwards, doing her thing and doing it right. But if my memory's not serving me correct, aren't they also dealing with a bit of injuries too, Washington? So like they got that going on to their starting core, so they're relying heavily off of bench players as role players, and we all know, as in any sport, if that then ends up becoming the case for your season, you're going to have some ups and downs, and obviously the record reflects that with just the 1-7, like you said. So it's nice they got the first dub, because now the squad knows what it tastes like to get that first dub of the season. So now they can push forward, and they know where they can set their benchmark for their wins off that W. But it's going to be a tough uphill climb, especially with them dealing with injuries to especially some key players too.
I agree with you. That's some really great points. I mean, they definitely do have injuries. One of the key ones that she hasn't been there all season is Elena Deladon. She's one of the top players in the league, has been for years, but she's not there, this year. Another one is Ariel Atkins. I think she's third-year player. Came over she was drafted from Texas A&M, 6'5" low post player, but she's been in and out the last 2 years with injuries. So, but yeah, like you said, dealing with a lot of injuries, as well as developing a young core. So sorry about that. Let me get this shut off. Okay. All right. And Nick, what about you? What's your thoughts about Washington? Is their rating proper, or what's your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from what I did get to see of their game against the Fever, they lost a tough one in front of, their first crowd of over, or in front of a crowd over 10,000 at Capital One Arena. 20 it was like 20,300 and some. So the biggest crowd in the WNBA in the last 17 seasons. I mean, it was a close one. They just couldn't get it done, and then they ended up, getting that first win later on Tuesday. So it's a lot. The injuries are going to be a big part of it, and in the growing pains for the season, similar to the Fever in the sense of a very young team, building that chemistry. So it's the same thing, just with the bench players. Being able to step up and get to that first win, and then, like Randy said, taste that first win and then just keep it going. Losing 12 games in a 40-game season is kind of tough to get out from. So it's just going to be kind of working to not lose many more. And if not, then just prepare for the future and hope that the injuries get better over time and it works itself out. So yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with them at 6 in the East. But yeah, I mean, a lot of teams I think are better than the record shows. And the Washington with the injuries definitely can maybe be a case for, it's just a tough way to go, as they've been going so far, to find that first win.
No, I agree with you. So I mean, and like you said, they got that first taste. So, yeah. What's up, Randy?
I also wanted to add too, like obviously, like when you go through these stretches and you have these types of seasons where it's like, you're gonna probably have more doom than you are gonna have like the higher ups. It does build towards something though. It's like scar tissue. After a while, it's like you hit that same spot. It's not gonna hurt anymore because you've already been there. So it's like you're hoping with the younger squad now having to be thrust into a starting spot, maybe there's an ability for them to be better in the future. So they have something to look forward to, fan base wise and coaching staff.
Yeah, great point, man. That's a really great point. So let me just see something because I'm looking at the rankings off of the app.
ESPN?
And I can go to the the WNBA app, the actual app, and I didn't look at the website so to see if there's any difference just for a second. I can't find power rankings. Okay, they don't. Nick, you had said you saw it on the website, right? Power rankings.
Yeah. The one on the website. It was week 4. It was updated on Monday, and this was specifically for the Commissioner's Cup. That I think that's why it's broken down to by.
But it's the same one I'm looking at, right? Oh, you did just say. You did say the Fever at 4. Okay. Because I was going to say, I'm looking at 5 and it says the Chicago Sky. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Chicago is, it threw me for a second. So, okay. But we're talking about the same one then. Okay. So, yeah. In these power rankings, they have the Chicago Sky as 5 in the East. Let me do it this way. Let me just read them straight up. It has Washington at 6, Chicago at 5, Indiana at 4, Atlanta at 3, Connecticut at 2, and New York at 1. So, I personally speaking, because when I just saw Chicago there, that at 5, look, Nick, I know you're an Indiana fan, but no, there's no.
Yeah.
I mean, the Fever are 3-10 overall, while the Sky are 4-7. I mean. The Sky are averaging 78.5 points per game, while the Fever at 77.5. The Sky are giving up 80 points a game, while the Fever are giving up 89.8. So that's a big thing to me right there in terms of your point differential, your defensive abilities. Yes, Chicago. Right now it seems like they're still finding their way. I mean, you have a couple of rookies in terms of Camila Cardozo, who's just coming back. Angel Reese, who's been doing her thing all year round. So you have a new head coach in Teaspoon, Teresa Weatherspoon, formerly of the Liberty. So and I understand that this team is developing, but to have them rated at 5 in the East, me personally, I can't see it. So. I mean, go ahead, Nick. You take the horn right now. So,
I mean, you read off the stats, and while they're close. Besides, the Fever giving up 89 points per game, which is crazy. I was just saying this the other night. Whenever they lost the other night, and I was watching. They had a lead, or they were losing by at 1.5. Then all of a sudden it was 26, and then they ended up losing by like 12. So it's like they get down in the game, and then they end up making it close, but they let their opponents score, and it just becomes too much for them to climb back up and make it a close game. I think the other reason why they're at 4 and 5, and the opposite way that it probably should be, is because the Fever did beat them head to head. That would be the only thing to look at to also counter the points per game and the everything else. So I think it's just how you want to look at it. Now they do play again on Sunday, so that should be another good game. Given that last week the whole Carter and Clark situation. But I mean, Angel Reese, I hope that Sunday we can see Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark just going, just let that rivalry blossom into what it can be for the future of the WNBA, and the center of those two at 1 and 2, and the center of this draft class, along with the other great rookies, Cameron Brink, who's also doing her thing out west for the Sparks. and then everyone else that you said, Edwards for
Mhm.
Washington, Kate Barton, who's stepping up big time for Vegas, just started the other night, and quickly becoming a fan favorite over there. So I mean, yeah, the Fever definitely have been a team to struggle. So I would still put them at in this position over Chicago, but I guess the head to head kind of plays a bigger part in that than
That's fair.
what we're thinking. So
What about you, Randy? What's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, me, and I take into consideration exactly what Nick said, but for me, like that, the win loss for me is a lot bigger than just 3 games when it comes to like it being 7 for the one squad. So, but as for Chicago, you nailed it. They're having that like up and down type season where like you think okay they found themselves, and then the next game they get exposed a little bit. Then the next game, okay, it looks like okay they fixed that issue, but then something else arises. So it's like the growing pains of dealing with like trying to incorporate a younger team. 4-7, that me personally, I don't find that bad of a record. They kind of find themselves a little nestled, like I guess amongst the weeds when you kind of look at it as a league versus the conference. But overall, I mean, shoot, they're keeping their games close. I mean, if you're looking at the points per game and then opponents points per game for Chicago, 78 versus 80. So it's like their games, they're tooth and nail. So that's what you want to see, especially from a young team or a team that's incorporating younger talent. So for me, I have no qualms. There's no issues.
Okay. Now, do you agree with Atlanta at 3, Chicago at 2, and New York at 1 in terms of the Eastern ratings? What about you, Nick? Go ahead.
I would put
What's your
Connecticut
thought?
above New York. I'd put Connecticut
Okay.
over New York.
And why would you do that? Is it just the
Jesus.
overall record? Is it the overall record? See, I
That
know why they did. Because just like Nick just made up the great point about Chicago and Indiana. Remember, New York just beat Connecticut in Connecticut.
kind of makes sense then
So
a little bit.
yeah, so I mean, when Nick said that to me, and then I'm looking at New York because to be honest with you, as a Liberty fan, yeah, I'd like the Liberty at 1, but I wasn't put at 1. I was actually having them at 2. Because I'm like you,
Okay.
Randy. That was my thought. Because we have 2 losses. I mean, we lost to Chicago at home early in the season. I mean, Chicago just came into New York and physically beat the crap out of New York, and then they turned around and they went to Minnesota and they lost to Minnesota. Same type of scenario. Now they've worked their way out of it to be able to deal with the physicality. But if I'm looking at the overall records and thinking about it, I mean, Connecticut is still a good team. Yes, the Liberty beat them, but in terms of the power ranking, I'm looking at it, and I understand because now you also have the Commissioner Cup because New York is undefeated in Commissioner Cup play at 5-0. So that like I get it, I get all the dynamics, but in just pure play and just looking at overall scoring, I mean, Connecticut has the number 1 defense. They're at 71.1 in terms of defensive scoring. Now they score at 80.8. New York is a better offensive scoring at 85.8, and their defense is starting to come around because they're at 75.9. Are they number 2? Oh no, I'm sorry. Wait a minute.
That's a
That's
plus
offensive point.
9.7
No,
point
that's offensive.
differential
No,
too. That's a good.
Yeah, points per game and differential. Yeah, they're 9.7. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. I was right. I was looking at it right. Okay. They have the number 2 defense in the league too. So, I think they have. Do they have the number 1 off? They have the number 1 offense and the number 2 defense. So, you know what? It could go either way. I mean, look, Ace. I mean, Liberty at number 1, it's fine. Connecticut at number 1, it's fine too. In the East. So, but overall, I mean, those are the 2 tweaks that maybe we could make an argument about. Connecticut at 1 over New York, but New York is still fine. And then Indiana and Chicago. That's it there. So let's jump over to the West Side. So West Side.
Let's go.
You have over in the West, you have the Dallas Wings coming in at 6 at 3-7. Are they 3-7? Yeah, they're 3-7. Yeah, 3-7. Uh, the LA Sparks at 4-7. The Phoenix Mercury at 6-6.
4-8.
Minnesota.
4-8.
Okay, so this one isn't updated as yet. Okay,
Yeah, this
that's
was
probably what it is.
these power rankings. They were updated on Monday, so any games
So
after
afterwards,
Monday,
yeah, I got you.
yeah.
That
Yep.
also may factor in it too, in terms of our thinking too, because I am looking at the current league schedule. So, but going based off of this, they have the Mercury at 4, Minnesota at 3, the Aces at 2, and Seattle at 1. So, for me, the bottom's half of the league, I think is just about right. If you want to say the Wings, the Sparks, the Mercury, yeah, I could agree with that. And then I do have an issue with Minnesota at 3 over the Aces. I mean, now mind you, Minnesota just went into Vegas this week and beat them, so that also is in my mindset too. So I'm putting Minnesota at 2. There's no way and they just beat. When I say it's not a close game, they beat the Aces in Vegas. So Minnesota for me is 2 with Seattle at number 1. So, but what's your guys' thoughts? Go ahead, Randy. You take the horn.
Yeah, like you said, they didn't just beat them. They beat them 186. Just took them out to this tool shed and actually just ran up and down the court with them. Aces kept it. It was an early lead for them in the first, 31-29. But after that, in the second, they can only muster up 17 points, 12 in the third, and by then it was a runaway. And they mustered up 26, but it was all for nothing at the end. Alana Smith led the way with 18 points. She was 7-9, and then my beautiful queen Aja Wilson is 28 points, 9 of 18, 9 of 10 from the charity strike, but just an absolute mauling. All 5 link starters score in double figures to hand the Aces their 3rd straight loss. So I like it because, like I said, I'm a big. Go ahead.
Just one little tweak too. One thing I want to add. I'm sorry for cutting you off, man. Is
No,
remember the Lynx don't even have Diamond Miller. They don't have Diamond Miller, and she's a key player for what they have over there, what they're building over there as a second-year player. She's been dealing with injuries, but when you see her play, she's a phenomenal two-way player and an elite athlete. But I'm sorry, Randy. Go ahead and finish your thought.
No, I'm not more just saying that Kayla McBride had herself a really great game, 16 points, 8 assists, and the team stayed healthy, so I like that. I like the fact that they were able to come out this on the on the other side perfectly fine when it comes to health wise, but just all around good scoring. 15, 18, 14, 16, 15, like they share the ball. Like it's not just like one player's getting lighting it up. Now that might be the case throughout certain games, but in this game it seemed like everybody kind of had their hand in the cookie jar, and they pulled out a big win.
You know what? Bless you. I'm even going to go as far as saying Minnesota should be number 1 in the West. They beat the Storm also. They just beat the Storm on Sunday the 9th. They beat them 83-64. So then they turned around and beat the Aces on Tuesday, 100-86. I'm sorry, Minnesota's number 1 for me in the West. And I love Skylar Diggins. Anybody who knows me knows I got a thing for Skylar Diggins Smith, man. But I mean, they have a squad over there. Seattle definitely has a squad over there, but I'm putting Minnesota at number 1 in my power ranking. Sorry, I can't see them 3, and I get it. This was done Monday, but if it was done Monday, then that means you have them beating the Storm. So. If that was the case, I mean, but that's me. That's how I see it. But
no, that's fair.
Nick, what about you? Nick? What's your thoughts about the West power rankings?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Minnesota. The wins that they've had, they've won, 2 in a row at this point from what the current overall standings are, just the regular season standings. So they, with the regular season standings updated, I would assume fairly recently, they are they would be one if it was separated by conference. So the updated ones are Connecticut, New York, Minnesota, Seattle. So right there with
Yep.
Minnesota, Seattle at 1 and 2 in the West, and then Phoenix, Atlanta, Vegas, and then it just goes down from there, kind of like what we've all agreed on from that point to down to 12. But yeah, I mean, Minnesota is definitely I haven't seen much of them play. Whenever the Fever played them, I missed it, and then whenever the Vegas played at Minnesota, I was excited for that one because Kate Martin was excited to go back to the Target Center and play, since at Iowa they played there before. And then I wasn't able to watch that game, so I've been. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Minnesota should definitely be up there at 1, given that they, Vegas was doing so well, and then they've lost 3 straight.
In a row. Yep.
That's crazy. And then like I said, Kate Martin is stepping up to help out there and go along with Asia Wilson and all the talent that Vegas does have. So yeah, I am a Fever fan, like you said, but I do like Vegas just because of Kate Martin and all the Kelsey Plum, Asia Wilson, all those what I have seen. Just I like that team. I think that's my West team, and then the Fever would be my East team until Philly or somewhere closer to me would get a team. So hopefully 2027 we bring a team to Philly. But yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with what you said, switching the West rankings.
I will say this though about the Aces, because I know many people are surprised with what's going on with them, and I always tell everyone the same thing. I said, don't sleep on them. Don't think, hey, they're falling off. First and foremost, they're missing their starting point guard in Chelsea Gray. I mean, she's recovering from an injury from last year with her ankle. She hasn't played at all this season. She's the one that drives that engine over there. So, and when she gets well and she comes back, don't be surprised if they start to climb back up. But right now, in terms of the power ranking, you can make an argument they're third. I wouldn't go as far as putting them below the Mercury, but they're both at 500 in terms of ranking. So, but that's it right now in terms of the power ranking. Next thing we're going to talk about actually is the Olympic roster. And NBA All Star. First thing is, in terms of the power ranking too, before I close it out completely, everyone in the chat, throw your thoughts in there in terms of who you think, how do you think the power rankings are, in terms of the East and the West. If you want to do an overall league, you can also go ahead and do it that way. That's perfectly fine. But give us your thoughts too, man. We want to hear what you have to say, because this is a family thing. This is a family affair, and you're important to the conversation here. So, but now we're going to go ahead and go about the Olympic roster reveal. But right now, they just opened up today All-Star voting. I already did my 10. You go in there and throw your 10, whether it's all for your team. You want to put every player from your team, fine. If you want to pick and choose, which is what I've done, yes, I've put a little bit more liberty, but I went through the whole league and I picked players, and, I'm happy with my first selection. And you can also select every 24 hours. So whenever you select, you got to wait another 24 hours to vote again. So, and I'll be doing that pretty much every day until they close the window. So everyone jump in there and make your selection. So, join in. So did you guys start your selection, or you just because it just opened today, you're going to take a little bit to decide?
Yeah, I got my vote in right before we started here. I did send a tweet out. I think I might not have gotten a chance to actually sending it, but yep, I did definitely voted for my 10. That is for sure. Hopefully, I would assume Caitlin Clark will do really well in the voting for for Team WNBA, since they are doing it, Team WNBA versus Team USA. So I think that'll be fun. A fun way to do it, and give the rookies of this class a big chance to get to the All Star game and to be showcased over the fun weekend.
Exactly. What about you, Randy? Have you had the opportunity, or not as yet?
I am doing it right now as we talk.
Hey, I ain't mad at you, man. I ain't mad at you. Oh, wow. Okay.
Damn.
Sorry, I was just scrolling right now, and I just see that they were talking about Caitlin Clark's Big 3 offer. That it's off the table now. So, but it was a $10 million contract that included potential team ownership. Okay, wow, that was interesting.
That's crazy. I know they were talking about that on the Pat McAfee show at some point last week. Just talking about the Big 3 in general, and what that is doing for it. And then Breonna Stewart, I think, is also funding and backing another 3-on-3 league that will be in the off season for the WNBA. So that'll be interesting to see. And I think she said they have funding for three seasons of that. So that should be fun to watch.
Okay, well, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about the actual Olympic roster, because I know there's a lot of controversy on there. But just to go down the list, you have Aja Wilson, Breonna Stewart, Diana Taurasi, Alyssa Thomas, Brittany Griner, Nafisa Collier, Jewel Lloyd, Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, Kalia Copper, Sabrina Ionescu, and Chelsea Gray. Those are the ones right now that are selected. Now, I do believe that Caitlin Clark and Arika Ogunwale are the first two selections, or however you want to, the next two up in terms of being brought onto the roster. So, but in terms of the initial, I'm sorry,
reserves.
Would you say? Yeah, the reserves. But in terms of the players who were selected, Nick, what's your thoughts? I mean, do you agree with the 12 that are there, or do you believe that's the elephant in the room? Do you believe Caitlin Clark should have been on there?
At first, I thought it was a little kind of crazy that she didn't make the team, but then talking to my stepdad, he did say that he thinks that he remembers hearing about the fact that she wasn't able to make the tryouts that were mandatory. So because of March Madness and everything. So whenever I heard that, like taking that into account, it does make sense that she wouldn't be on the team this year. But it's no big deal. She's going to get the rest that she and the other members of Indiana that didn't make it, whatever. That they are desperately going to need, given that they had the crazy schedule to start the season, and then after the break for the Olympics, it will be another crazy schedule. I forget the exact numbers of how many games and how many days after the break, but Caitlin, she can take the time to rest. Hopefully they can build the team chemistry and have actual practices and not just doing film and shoot arounds. So I think it's going to be better for them as a team to not have her go over with Team USA. And I know that she will have plenty of opportunities to represent the USA in the Olympics down the line for a long time to come. So I'm not too upset about it. So yeah.
Nick, I'm glad you said that about the tryouts, because that was the thing. They've been doing this for the last 3 years. And that's the thing. And then they played in certain tournaments with a lot of these players. So, and yes, Caitlin Clark was in the NCAAs playing to go to the Final Four. So I get it. I do understand the argument. Oh, she's box office. She brings people to the table, and this is a way to grow the sport. I get it. But just like you said, she wasn't there, during the process. she would, it does give her a rest because she came from college 3 to 4 weeks before she's jumping into the WNBA season, and she does at times look tired. But here's the other factor. I always tell everyone when they make this argument about she should be on the roster, and I always say, well, go to the roster and tell me who you would take off and put her on. Tell me. I had someone tell me, oh, Sabrina Ionescu. Okay. That's your opinion. I didn't agree with that, but because they made the argument that in terms of points, they're almost the same. Well, Sabrina, when she didn't have Brianna Stewart and JJ and a lot of these, her points were up higher. Even as a rookie, her points were up higher. So, I mean, if you want to make that argument, she has other weapons where she doesn't have to score as much. Where, right now with the Fever, I mean, you also have the Rookie of the Year from last year, who her point production has reduced. And I know that's just a matter of them trying to figure out how to play together and build this team. So, but again, you made some great points in terms of, and I appreciate that she wasn't there from the whole process, and that's usually a requirement to get onto the final roster. And like I said, who are you taking off? I mean, tell me, if you're going to tell me it's only Sabrina Ionescu, I'm going to defend that. And it's not just because I'm a Liberty fan. Sabrina, she can do the 3-point shooting just like her. She's a veteran. She's playing with great confidence. She's handled a level of physicality now. She attacks the paint as well as shooting from deep. So her game is growing. So, but again, that's me. Randy, what's your thoughts on the USA roster and Caitlin Clark?
Yeah, I'll be real. Like I don't really think that like there was a deserving factor ever with her. I felt like she still needed to go through a full season of WNBA to like know what it's like to go up against women. Because right now she is just a kid when it comes to like being new to the league. I did see a take from Stephen A. say he take off Diana Taurasi, and I thought he was sniffing glue at that point. So are you kidding me? She's the elder stateswoman. She's the one that's been there all this time. They can lean on her when the times might get tough, which they won't, because you guys, the women's team's always dominant from beginning to end. I myself, I had the same question you did, Coach, when it was presented. If you're gonna take somebody off, who is it gonna be for Caitlin Clark to replace? And like you look at that squad, and it's like Sabrina. No, like I would want Sabrina there because she's been through a little bit of a weathered season and been there as a rookie, and then been there as now somebody that's been leaned on and this, that, and the third. So it's like Caitlin, how do we know that's stage might not be even too much bigger for her to the point where like she might even start to get like a little bit awestruck and then what? Then now you're giving up a spot to somebody that maybe could have benefited the squad. So for me, I like it the way it is. It gives like Nick said, she missed the opportunity to join the squad for tryouts, so therefore it gives her an opportunity to let her body rest, let her build some muscle on her. Let her build up her endurance so that when she, like Coach said, when you're watching games, sometimes she's just on the sidelines huffing and puffing. And it's like, man, like you can tell she's running out of gas. Like she didn't have much time to set herself up for the season. Like most girls, most women, that are getting drafted into the WNBA. It's such a short turnaround that you're asking a hell of a lot on these women. So for me, I think as a Canadian, I'd be petrified of playing that women's squad because you guys got studs everywhere. So,
but yeah, and that's the whole thing, man. I mean, I already said what I had to say, in terms of who you're taking off, and right now, Caitlin just needs time to grow. She's going to be on, barring any type of injuries, she's going to be on the next one. There's no doubt about it. Her body is also going to grow and develop, and she's going to feel more comfortable, and she's probably going to make a bigger name for herself within the league. Who knows? She might end up at that point in time being the number one player in the league. So give it time. We have the talent. We have the players. The only argument most people want to say is as a way of growing the sport, and I say, yeah, but. Let her play within the WNBA and it's still going to do the same exact thing. So, but again,
I
that
also want
was
to
my
say that
thought.
coach too.
Yeah, go
How
ahead.
much attention is a distraction at that point? Her being there, how much attention would become a distraction to everybody else being like, oh, the teammates constantly being asked questions about Caitlin Clark and not
Mm-hmm.
the women's
Mm-hmm.
basketball team. It would eventually kind
Good
of
point.
grow a little stem into somebody's mind eventually to the point where like you might even kind of like usher her aside a little bit, and she's feeling like she's left alone and she's not welcome, and that might just sour the whole team and make it a big disaster. So rather than potentially having that, let her go through the ups and downs of the WNBA, and then like you guys said, there's always an opportunity in the future.
Exactly. So, great point, gentlemen, in reference to that. So, she's going to be there. So, anyone who's worrying about that in the future, don't worry about it. She's definitely going to be there. So, now we're going to go ahead and move on to the weekly score rundowns. And I'm going to start from Sunday, this past Sunday. You had the Los Angeles Sparks defeat the Las Vegas Aces 96-92. That was I believe that was in LA. Yeah, it was in LA. I told you about Minnesota and Seattle. You had Phoenix beat Dallas in Dallas 97-90, and New York barely get by, but they beat
Yeah,
Washington 93-88. So I was watching that
5
game, and
points.
I was literally like this. Oh my gosh! Please don't let us. We're one of the top teams lose give them their first win. So but yeah, Washington
Hedge
again.
that screen. Hedge that screen. What are you
Yes,
doing?
yes. That was me. That was me. As I was sitting there looking at it, I was like, oh my gosh, no. But yeah, but that also pointed to Washington. I think that also gave them confidence, which is why they ended up with their next win. But those were the score rundowns. Out of those games, did any one of those surprise you? Nick, go
Um,
ahead. I'm sorry.
I would say this the Sparks over the Aces was one for me. Just given that the Aces were at such a high level,
Mm-hmm.
and just with everything seemingly clicking and working well. Asia Wilson just game after game with 20 plus, her 30 point game. Whenever that was in between them, that it was her 31-point game was against the Sparks. So I mean, given that she put out that number of points, and then they ended up losing. Kate Martin, 13 points in that game. That was one of her breakout games. She went 3 for 3 with 3-pointers. And just everything was clicking, and then all of a sudden they go out and they lose to the Sparks, who are up and down, just like a lot of other teams in the league are. So I would say the Sparks over the Aces was the one for me.
What about you, Randy?
Yeah, obviously for me, it's going to be the Lynx over the Storm. That was a battle of the 7-3 teams,
Mm-hmm.
and the Lynx end up coming out on top now with at that time an 8-3 record. But it was for me, it was McBride hitting her 7 threes in that game, season high 32 points. As well as like Arku mentioned in the chat there about Collier being really good. She popped in 19 points, but also grabbed 14 boards. Like, and especially on the defensive side, she goes after and gets it. I think she's averaging almost 10, close to 10 defensive boards a game, like 8.5. Like, it's crazy. Like, she goes and gets it. So for me, that game for sure, because it propelled them to the record that now they are at excuse me, tongue twister, in the standings.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, I'm going to give you guys a little shocker.
Okay.
It's actually the Mercury and the Wings.
Okay.
And here's the reason why. Because with the Wings, it's surprising because I was expecting them to be a little bit better than what their record is showing. I mean, you have Tiara McCowan, who scored 20 points, had 9 rebounds that game, 4 assists. You had Erika, 25 points, 7 rebounds, 10 assists. So they had all 5 of their starters in double figures. So, but the thing about it, what it's showing me is how much they miss Satu Sabali, because Satu has been out all year, and I did not think she would have that big of an impact. But Dallas at 3, down in the lowest spectrums of the league, at 3 and 7, it's like no, and then of course, you have Phoenix. Phoenix is always a tough team. You had BG, put in 24 points. Kalia Copper, 23 points. Diana Taurasi with 20 points. So, that's their big three. I was expecting a little bit more from sexy Sophia Cunningham, but overall with Dallas, I mean, I've been expecting a little bit more from them, and it's like, and then when I sit and I look at it and I thought about this game, I'm like, yeah, they really are missing Satu, and I didn't really think it was going to be that much. I mean, Erika's, tops in the league in scoring, so always up there. I mean, she's a straight baller. Like I said, McCowan, big body, 6'7" woman, really owns the paint when she's out there. But then like I said, they just don't have that wing player that Satu brings, and it's surprising every week that I'm seeing them go, and it's like I am expecting them to. I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is the game, but it's like the losses are starting to mount up with them, so it's like that was the surpriser for me. So the next game on Monday was only one. Connecticut over Indiana, 89-72. Nick, I don't know if you saw the game. If you want to, take the lead with that and talk about it.
Yeah, I watched the first half, and then I got ready to watch. Flipped over to Raw just because it was it got ugly quick, and just like I said, they get down. They had it within 5, and then all of a sudden it was back up to 14, and then 16, and then it was 26, and I'm just like, yeah, this is getting bad. So I'm good. I mean, from Caitlin, starting with her, I don't think she only had 10.
She was 3 of 8, yeah.
So just not, another game of maybe the tiredness still wearing on her. And then from that, Melissa Smith, 2 points, Christy Wallace only 5, Aaliyah Boston had 14. So I think that was the highest. So just, not a good game offensively wise. I don't know. I mean, like I said, they made it somewhat close with, the final being 89-72, but it's still like they just get down too quick, and then it's just like, unless Caitlin goes off for 7 threes in whatever in a game, it's not gonna matter. So that was a tough game to watch. I only watched the first half and then got ready to watch Raw, so which ended up being better than what the game was. So that was fun, but it also wasn't.
Well, you know what I take from that game, though, more than anything, it was Dejanay Carrington. I mean, she played her tail off on that. 22 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 7 of 11 shooting overall, 1 or 2 from 3, and 7 of 9. It was a 7 of 9 from the free throw. Yeah, from the free throw. That just told me she was attacking, because it just seems like every time she goes up against Caitlin Clark, she's doing something. Whether that first time she had that amazing steal and a breakaway layup, it's just like, she just says, you know what, I'm elevating my game, because if she is the make a name for myself right then and there. And and it just shows her ability. Other times she digresses to Dewana Bonner and Alyssa Thomas, because those are the 2 head dogs on that team. But she's right there with them, and that's the thing. I mean, I was looking at the stats. She had 22, Bonner had 17, Thomas had 7, Brianna Jones with 11. So you see, the rest of the team is pretty balanced, but she just took over, and she said, you know what? And which is another reason why I think Caitlin Clark had a bad game, because Carrington gives her problems across the board, defensively. So, and it makes it tough for her. Randy, what's your thoughts?
You guys nailed it all on the head. Exactly what I was going to say is exactly it. Carrington took over, and I wasn't aware of Carrington, and now I am a big fan of Carrington. So thank you, WNBA, for introducing her. Very attractive woman, by the way. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, it was other than that, it was a butt whooping. I felt sorry for Fever fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was that. Huh? Okay. I'm sorry. I got to look into that later. Just got Trevor Lawrence got a contract extension. Sorry. Um,
Oh.
yeah, yeah. I just got the notification. It just it's I'm staying to the W. All right, we're gonna move on to Tuesday. You had Washington getting their first win over Atlanta, 87-68. Minnesota with that big win over Vegas, 100-86, and Seattle over the Sparks, 95-79. So, Randy, what's your big surprise in terms of those games right there?
It was the bounce back game from the Storm there after they lost to the Lynx. There, they come back here and they come against the Sparks, and Nika Gumake scores her season high 26 against her former team, which was interesting, obviously. But Julie Lloyd added 21 points, and Seattle Storm obviously beat the Sparks pretty decently, 95-79. But just yeah, no, I just got it too. Just an interesting game all around. Really good shooting night by Agumake, 11 of 15. Like, wow. Like, you want to talk about somebody that was on fire? She just feed her the ball all night. But really good game, bounce back game, especially for the Seattle Storm.
That's a good call too in reference to that. And I was just looking at the stats in reference to that, and I'm just seeing like I have been hearing about their young center from China, Li Yuri, I can't say it.
Yuri?
Yuri. Yeah, you see, it's no I at the end. It's a U, so it's throwing me. So it's U. It's Yueru. But again, I've heard them speaking her up, and and I'm looking at it, and she led the team. She had 18.7 rebounds and one assist. She was 6 of 9 overall, 6 of 6 from the free throw line. And then of course the Erica Hamby, who's playing phenomenally. 16 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 7 of 16. So, but other than that, those are the only two who really, performed, admirably in reference to that game. But, when you look at Seattle, NECA with 26, Skyler with 19, Jewel with 21. It's like, Seattle took over that game. So that's a good call, man. I like that. I'm going to break it down in a little bit, NYG, let you know how she's doing. I know that's your girl, man, and I feel you. So, Nick, what about you out of those games? What surprised you in terms of the games this week?
Yeah, it was the Mystics getting their first win, I think was that one, especially in the statement they did it by, winning by 21,
19.
and then 22, and then Minnesota again over the Aces, just because I haven't seen much of them play wise, and then just as I've said before, the Aces, what they were doing, and then hitting this patch where they're like, okay, what's going on over there for the back-to-back champs, and then just everything you guys said about the Seattle and the Sparks game, just that the Sparks are very up and down. Same with Seattle. They're a very solid team. And then, something they lose like a close one and then they bounce back. So that was pretty expected just from that side. And then just, everything else you guys said about the other two games, I fully agree with and took note of as well.
Yeah, for me, it is the Mystics game. I mean, it was just like, when are they going to win? When are they going to win? Yep. And they played New York tough, and then they turn around and come win this game in dominating fashion. I mean, Ariel Atkins, man, that's a low post player. If you really want to see her, you might look at her and say she's skinny. How can she really play? But, she's extremely gifted athletically. Now, she does get injured from time to time, but when she's out there and she's on, I'm telling you, her game is a thing of beauty. I mean, she had 18 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. She was 6 of 10 and 3 of 3 from deep. So it's like,
That's a good day.
Yeah, that's definitely a good day. Good day. In terms of her play. So, but now we're going to move on to Wednesday. It was just one, Connecticut over Chicago. You know, what can you say? Um,
Yeah.
Chicago just continue. They continue to be the dominating. Brianna Jones 18 points. Alyssa Thomas 20 points. Dewana Barner 16. Dejanay had 9. And who's playing the T Harris is Tyesha Harris 13 points. So their starters really performed in reference to that game. And then of course Chicago, Angel Reese 20 and 10. Like NYG said earlier. She's the first rookie to 100 points and 100 rebounds. See, I don't know if it's for the year or ever. So, but still, just for her to be able to do that, that just speaks volumes to the type of player that she is. I mean, again, 20 and 10. She was 8 and 10 from the floor. 4 for 4 from the free throw line. So that speaks to her game. Now, Camila Cardoso, she's still coming back from an injury and she's still filling out her game. She was 10 points, 9 rebounds, though. She was 3 of 7.
Double.
Yeah. 3 of 7 from the floor, but 4 for 4 from the free throw line. So played 30 minutes. So she's still feeling her way back. So, but those two are going to end up being the team along with Marie Mabry. That the Jersey girl, love her game, always loved the game, but she definitely plays with a tenacity that you can appreciate. So, and let me see, Kennedy Carter, she only had 10 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, 5 of 11. So, but Sky, we're going up against a tough team. Connecticut is a tough defense. They always bring that tough defense, keeping you around in the mid 70s. So, and that's what you have to contend with, when you play Connecticut. So, any thoughts on that game, guys?
No, you nailed it.
Yeah. Nope.
Okay.
I did take notice that Reese. I saw that Reese. Big game from her. So that's awesome to see her continue to show why maybe the draft class should be given more eyes to everyone else in the class and not just all the talk going to Caitlin. I love seeing her doing her thing and proving it on the court versus getting into the talks and the controversy and the stir-ups and everything offside of the floor and all that. Like I said, whenever that whole thing went around with her clapping for what Carter did and everything like that, I get it. It's at her, backing her teammate up, but it's then skipping media and not just, kind of choosing then to stick up and say, like, we don't need to do necessarily that. And to kind of be vocal about, not doing that type of, dirty plays and whatever. And then, just choosing not to back her teammate up then by skipping the media. Cardoso was right beside Carter in the media, the press conference where she said, I'm not answering no Caitlin Clark questions, and then went on to say, she didn't say anything to her, blah, 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 whatever, last week, all that stuff. So she ended up, then the ejection and, the whatever, the fines and all that stuff. So, she can get away from that and just do her thing on the floor, and that'll be that.
Yeah,
exactly.
let her play, do the talking. Yeah,
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And today's game, I'm going to end it with today's games that are happening tonight. You have Seattle at Dallas. They're just about ready to start playing down in Dallas. Atlanta at Indiana also play at 7:00. The Seattle Dallas is actually on ESPN. Atlanta Indiana is on ESPN3, and then tonight a big game, Las Vegas at Phoenix. That's on Amazon. That's at 10:00. And this is all Eastern Standard Time, so just so everyone understands, if you're looking, to watch the game, they go by Eastern Standard Time. So, but that's it right now in terms of the games and the weekly score rundown. You know what? No, let me close out the week. Tomorrow you have Chicago at Washington, Los Angeles at Minnesota, And then Sunday, you have the big game, the Liberty at Vegas. That's 3 o'clock on the ABC. And then Connecticut at Dallas, and that's on CBS at 1 p.m. So they're going to be early games. So if you want to watch them, there you go. You can check those games out.
Those are the Saturday games.
Those are the Saturday games. So,
Saturday.
Yep, Saturday, 3 o'clock. I wish I could really stream the Liberty game, but I got another show at 2, so I'll just have it on my TV watching. So while I'm doing that, but that's the weekly rundown in terms of the scores and the games that are coming up. So now we're going to go ahead and
real quick for Sunday though, that Chicago and Indiana 12 noon on CBS, Seattle Phoenix on ABC at 3. And then the Sparks and the Dream that closes out the Commissioner's Cup on ESPN3 at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
I will be hopefully doing a stream for the Sky and the Fever, because the last time I did a play-by-play for them, that's when the Fever beat them. So hopefully I bring the luck back and they can kind of continue the success head-to-head with the Sky, and that hopefully what will be that great rivalry going forward.
Got you.
You're their token win child. That's what you're saying. You're their token win child. All you had to say, Nick. That's all you had to say.
And we're not going to talk about the fact that that was the Saturday, and then Sunday whenever we did the Liberty.
Yeah, exactly. No, we're not going to talk about. No, exactly.
but yeah. So hopefully my solo play-by-plays can give them the luck from Central PA. Send that over to Indiana, and then go from there.
All right. Now we're going to move on to what is known as team time. And what that is for you guys is, each one of us, like we said, we have a team that we're, closely monitoring. I'm probably more in tune with mine because I've been following the Liberty for years, but the other guys are going to talk about their team that they're rooting for. I'm going to start with you, Nick, you and the Fever. Go ahead, man. Take the horn.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a tough start to the season with the All-Star break midway point kind of coming up in the distance. Just not what I expected. I didn't know much going into it. Given that I started really watching and paying attention around the draft, I saw Leah Boston was there taking pictures with Caitlin Clark. They had played together before, either in AAU, I think it was. And then, after she was drafted, the few past teammates, future teammates, and seeing those two really take off to be that, hopefully the 1-2 punch for Indiana as we, go forward in Clark's young career. And just like really thinking about the schedule that they've had to start off the season. At one point, 11 games in 20 days, the most games played, in the season so far to start out, and just the teams that they played throughout those 11 games, going out west for 3 games in 4 days, I think it was, then coming back and playing, 2 games in 3 days at home, and then going to New York, coming back home, and then finally having the break and the rest. And then to hopefully finish out the Commissioner's Cup, not the way we wanted it to be, but that's how it, was laid out and happened. So hopefully, like I said, whenever we were talking about the Olympics, they take that break and they recuperate, get the rest, and, get practice and build the team chemistry, because they are a very young team. And they've said multiple times they really haven't had time to practice like the other teams had. They get film time, they get shoot around before the game, whatever, and then that's pretty much it. Then they're getting right on the charter and going from city to city. From their whenever they went to New York, Christy Side said as soon as they got on the plane, pretty much the entire team was asleep. So that shows that the wear and tear, the tiredness, the fatigue is there. And then multiple players had said they were looking forward to sleeping in for over the 4 or 5 days they had off. And just, I mean, you could see it from Caitlin whenever they had 2 days off. She came back and she was smiling, ready to go, and high energy. And then, she probably played another game all 40 minutes and then was absolutely wrecked and just tired, the next couple of days, and that's going to be how it's going to be. But hopefully the after the break it'll be good. And yeah, I mean, the Fever, and then the Aces. I do like Kate Martin out there. So given that like I said, the Fever don't get the practice time, and then you see clips of Vegas doing their practices and
Mm-hmm.
all of that, inside, backstage the city, giving them the sponsorship and them doing, half court shots at practice. Kate Martin nailing them and her becoming a fan favorite out there in Vegas is pretty cool to see.
Okay, I got you. I got you, Randy. What about you at Minnesota?
Yeah, like you said, Coach, with Diamond Miller going out, basically having her knee worked on the 29th of May, her season basically being shut down. She's all but done. The squad has been able to rally amongst each other, and whether it's McBride, Collier, Smith, or Williams, everybody's stepping up. Everybody's playing above their pay grade, playing as a cohesive unit, and the girl I'm excited to get a little bit more playing time, Alyssa Peely. Was a huge fan watching her during the female NCAA tournament. Big Samoan girl. She can score from three. She can play down low if she wants. Like, she's got the size to muscle, and she can rebound too. So, but she's got to be able to play all the people in front of her. And right now they got some forwards. So just hoping for a healthy season. Obviously, with Miller's injury aside, the team's been somewhat decent. So knock on wood. But right now it's only 3 losses on the season. They never seem to have a loss or a loss kind of linger, because they go like 2 wins, loss, 3 wins, loss, 2 wins, loss. So it's like they're on the precipice of having a pretty darn good season, barring any more injuries. So I'm just excited, and we'll see what happens moving forward.
What about Dorka Juhasz? How's she doing? That's my girl,
She's
center from UConn.
Yeah, she's day to day.
Okay.
Yeah, so
right,
she'll be back probably sooner than later, but she's day to day.
All right, so, and me with the Liberty, as my man NYG said, it's Liberty all day, all the way, baby. Yeah, so
all day, all the way.
Liberty are, they're. This is the second year working together as a cohesive unit. They know each other. The starting 5 knows each other. They know exactly where they're supposed to be, what they're going to be for the most part. Now, I do have issues with turnovers with them. They do turn the ball over a little bit too much for my liking. But then again, they've been playing a lot better defense. Early in the season, they were having problems defending the 3-point, but they seem to work it out now, and they do a better job there, at least with the closeout. But, what can you say? Breanna Stewart leading the team at 18.9 points a game. You have and 9.4 rebounds. Sabrina Ionescu, she's at 17.8. Jonquel Jones, 15.5. Brianna Benijah Laney at 12.2. Those are the starting 4. Now, Courtney Vandersloot, she's missed the last 3 games for personal reasons. She's scoring 7.8 points per game, 3.8 rebounds. Let me see her assists. She's leading the team at 5. She's second, 5.3 behind Sabrina with assists. But this team is developing. The starting 5 you're fine with. Kayla Thornton has been starting. She's our 6th woman off the bench. But the bench guys, Lonnie Fibish has been a good backup in terms of the point guard. You have the wing. You have Ivana Docic, who's the backup point guard, and she's okay. She's developing. This is her first year both of them, I think, are their first year in the WNBA because they played internationally. So Burke, she's a veteran, coming around, and Nayara Sabli, she's been out the last 3 games also with injury, which is another reason why it's impressive the Liberty have been winning, especially against Connecticut, because 2 key players have been out. But like I said, the bench is starting to fill in because that was my initial concern. And as long as they no major injuries, I'm confident this team is going to be competing at the highest level and hopefully get back to the finals and win it all. Now they're going to be defending their Commissioner's Cup trophy because they won it last year. So, and this year it's now going to be in New York. So whether it's Minnesota, whether it's Seattle, they got to come to New York, and that's what I'm hoping to see. So, and in the Commissioner's Cup, New York was actually 5-0, so they beat everyone they played. So, and that's a good thing. So, but again, that's it in terms of the team time. Definitely appreciate the information on all the teams. If anybody in the chat, has any questions, make sure you throw it in right now. So we can go ahead and answer it or address it, or, what's up? You got any other news that you know of? Definitely throw it in the chat, man. We're here to talk about it, for, a little bit longer, before we close this down. So, but, in the same token, I appreciate everyone who has been here, in reference to this second episode, but before we start to close it down, guys, you have any questions, anything you want to add? Go ahead, Nick. Take the
I'm
mic.
looking at just on Twitter to see if I can see any, like, if any news is breaking before the games had tipped off. I guess we can run through and talk about the scores right now as we close out. But I Talk Hoops tweeted out that these WNBA players have seen notable increases in their point averages from last season. So number one, Darica Hamby is plus 11.1 points. Maddie Segrist, fan of her because she went to Villanova. So, PA. I had a cousin that went to Villanova. So that was back in 2008, 2009. I was a big time Villanova fan for the men's side for March Madness. But she's getting plus 10.4 points per game. And then Monique Billings is plus 7.9, and then Asia Wilson is plus 5.5. So she's getting more than what she had last year, and just having another incredible year. So, but that was something that was posted earlier today around 2:00. So that was the big. I mean, you'd sent it. One of us had sent it in the group chat.
I think it was me. I forgot about that.
Yep.
I mean, but you think about that. Think about that. Aja Wilson. You always know she's elite, and her scoring is up even 5 more points plus over 5 points a game, man. Yeah, that's amazing in terms of what she brings to the table and what she's doing for the WNBA. Yes, Vegas is not dominating like everyone would have thought it, but again, I spoke about Chelsea Gray being out with her injury, but when you sit down and you think about Aja Wilson and what she's doing, for the league and in these games, it's amazing, and she's not a wing player. She's a low post player, so, there's times she's going to get banged around and knocked down and, muscled, and, she's still owning the paint. Right now, to me, the most dominant big player in the WNBA. I mean, you can argue Brittany Griner, but Brittany hasn't really performed as of yet, and she's been out, but Aja has been consistently been there. So, it's amazing when you think about that. And I'm glad you thought you brought that up, because I forgot to mention about Sabrina Ionescu. She's the fastest player to hit 300 3-pointers in the WNBA. She's the fastest. Wow. And when you think about that, now, Caitlin Clark, am I expecting her to probably break that? Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, but still Sabrina, she's only been in the league 4 years, and she's the fastest to get to 300 3-pointers. That speaks volumes in itself right there. So, and it just, like you said, the beauty of the game is really growing. And even a lot of the casual fans are, once you get past all the other ancillary stuff, the political stuff, the racial stuff, when you just think about the game of basketball, and you watch the women, see, that's why I've always said I prefer the women's game over the men, because they're a lot more, for me, they're a lot more fundamentally sound. They play it, they're not always trying to get dunks and 3-pointers only. They'll work the mid range. You know, they will work the screens a lot better than the men sometimes. You know, so and they're shooting it from deep just like the men. So, you know,
Yeah.
I just appreciate the game. It's not about, you know, it's not about their looks or anything like that. If anybody tries to hit me with that, no, it's actually their game. Like I said, I've been watching it for decades. I mean, I can go back to Cooper and Houston and what they had down there, you know, in LA with Lisa Leslie. I mean, I can go in Seattle before, you know, when they were winning their championships. You know, I mean, I remember when the Charlotte Sting, when Dawn Staley was down there leading that team down there, you know, so I remember that, and been watching it, and I'm passionate about the W because I love the way this game is played and what these ladies bring. And I'm happy because when I was growing up, most women after college, they went overseas. And then 97, they're home. And I said, yes. You know, now we can see our heroes, you know, here at home. And that's the thing that I love the most about what the WNBA brings to the table. So, but, you know, great point, Nick, in bringing up, you know, the scoring average and what's going on within the league itself. So, Randy, you have anything to add before we close out?
No, just I'm excited that we started this, and just remember, like I said at the beginning, it's the learning curve. I'm just new to the WNBA and learning the Minnesota Lynx, and I will be cheering for the Toronto expansion, whatever that becomes the name wise, in 2026. But until then, join us for this ride. It's gonna be fun, and I can't wait for many more episodes.
All right. So next week, just to let everyone know, we'll be back to our normal time. We're normally at 7 p.m. on Thursdays. You know, it's just, you know, other obligations or requirement, and everyone has it, whether it's work or, you know, we all do other streams, whatever the case may be. But it's always going to be 7 o'clock on Thursday. So, you know, we'll be back there, the same channel next week. So we appreciate everyone being here. Make sure you always, and we thank you for those who have contributed. Make sure you always like this episode on the Hardcore Sports Network, on Next Shift Randy, on Sleep Media,
Sleep Sports Media. Yep.
Sleep Sports Media, and Coach A Gladney's Amazing World of Sports. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notifications so this way make sure you know when we post new content, and always share on all social media platforms. You know, it helps us continue to grow. You know, there's 46 in the chat right now, so we know that you are appreciating what we're bringing to the table, and we thank you for the support. And we're going to continue to grow this thing, you know, with you helping us grow. And also everything you do, it's free, man. So you can subscribe and it's free. It don't cost you anything. It just helps us, and it helps the network, and it helps, you know, you to end up seeing some great content. And also, if you have any ideas, you know, throw it in the chat, because, you know, I do go back periodically and take a look and see if anything was added, you know, because it does definitely help us. You can hit us all on Twitter. You know, I'm at Skies Papa 72. That's SKYSPOPPA 72. You can hit me there. You can hit me on Instagram. Don't sweat the technique. That is my Instagram. And you can hit me on Facebook. Ed EDD Mel MELL Gladney GLADNEY. You can always hit me there. Doesn't matter. Just go ahead and hit me, or, you know, like I said here. So, oops, sorry, one of you got it. So yeah, Mosley. So go ahead, throw your Twitter and your contact information in there.
Yeah, same Twitter. I believe it's SSM and Weetosh, or just SSM Weetosh, one of the two. So just type in Sleeper Sports Media and you'll find it. Facebook is just Nick Weetosh. All of our links are down in the description for those, you know, those YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. But yeah, the Hardcore Sports Network on Facebook as well, and then you know all the other platforms you can think of. Don't forget to follow those, and you know that audio episodes will be up on Spotify. We are on there, and look out for clips once we start rolling that out to the TikTok. But any one of those platforms, leave a comment, say something in the comments, and suggestions, anything like that, ideas for that, and just follow all of our channels.
What about
Sweet.
you? Oh yeah, he said everything's in there.
Yeah,
Anything that
yeah,
you
it's in
guys
the
got going?
description.
Anything that you guys got going on? Any other shows or anything that so people can follow you if they want to follow you guys?
Yeah, in about 8 minutes, I will be over on Earl Cole's The Wrestling Experience. So thank you for
There
that
you go.
plug. I'm sure he'll appreciate
Mm-hmm.
that. It'll be on his channel, my channel, the network's channel, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff. So I got that tonight, and then tomorrow I'm not planning on doing anything, so we'll see how that ends up going. And then Saturday, just the Clash at the Castle watch along, and then Sunday, fingers crossed for a play-by-play to get the Fever their second win over the Sky, and just excited for Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, the rematch of many matches to come in the future.
What about you,
Absolutely.
Randy? What you got going on?
I don't really have anything planned for the immediate. Maybe something possibly on the works for Saturday for the UFC fight night. We'll see. I don't know what's going on just yet, but other than that, catch me on every Wednesday on the Pick and Roll podcast with Coach Ed Gladney, our point guard Mitch Kofsky, our power forward Blaze McCoy, your shooting guard Mr. Next Shift, our coach Ed. You're the coach. Sorry, coach. And Rios is the small forward. And our bench mob with TRL and Nikki Stees. So yeah, on Wednesdays.
There you go. Follow me Saturday. I have the halftime coaching adjustment show with Philly Halftime. Excuse me, 2:00 right here on this channel, Hardcore Sports Network. Sunday, I'm actually going to be covering the UFL championship game between Birmingham and San Antonio. That's 4:00 on my channel and also on the Hardcore Sports Network. Monday, I'm bringing back Coach A. Gladney's Read and Attack show, but it's going to be in a live format. So it's kind of like this. Before I used to do pre-recording, and then I would do audio through Amazon and all those networks. But now I'm bringing it back to live medium before I get it over to audio. So it's actually going to be on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. 7:00 on Monday and Wednesday, and Fridays it's going to be at 6 p.m. So I'll have that in there. Tuesday nights with my boy NYG 22. We do Heart of the City, where we sit down and talk about the heart. We sit down and talk about the heart of the city with the tri-state area, but we do cover all sports across the country. So, but as you said, you still owe us a heart of the city appearance, Randy. So, and actually,
I do. NYG, I'm all for it.
And actually, NYG is going to be with me and halftime on Saturday. So, he's going to be our special guest on Saturday. So, and again, like Randy said, Pick and Roll podcast, and then I'm going to be back here on Thursday. So your boy is going to be busy. So, but hey, that's the best thing to do. So again, I want to thank everyone for being here. NYG 22, Mosley, Donovan Machitas, Leaf Diggies. Thanks for being here. Arku,
Dana
Chad
Sports was up in here. Mitch was here. So those guys are always lurking around.
Chad,
we appreciate
Tammy, Daniel Berry. Yep, exactly. So we appreciate everyone who tapped in the chat. To everyone that's been in the in behind the scenes just watching, we understand. So hopefully in the future you'll join in and add to the conversation. But again, thank you for being here. We appreciate everyone. And until the next time, I always say this in sports: make sure you turn it on and turn it up. Peace. Have a good one.